I never thought I'd be that woman, the one who betrays the man who loves her, who breaks vows, who destroys everything for something so temporary. And yet, here I am, writing this, because I can't live with the weight of my own actions anymore. My husband, Eric, is the best man I've ever known. He's kind, patient, loyal to a fault. We've been together for 8 years, married for 4. He's the kind of man who always puts me first. He never forgets an anniversary, always texts me to ask if I need anything before he comes home, and even when we argue, he never raises his voice. And I ruined him. It started with James. Eric's best friend since childhood. He was always around, always close, and I guess that should have been a warning sign. He was different from Eric, louder, cockier, with this effortless charm that made him the center of attention in every room. But he was also loyal to my husband, always had his back, always supported our marriage. Or so I thought. Looking back, I can't even pinpoint when the line blurred between us. It wasn't some passionate, forbidden love story. It was slow, insidious. A stolen glance here, an inside joke there, lingering touches that lasted just a second too long. I ignored it at first. I told myself it was harmless, that I loved Eric and James was just a friend. But then Eric started working longer hours. He was exhausted when he got home, and instead of feeling proud of how hard he worked for us, I felt neglected. I wanted more attention, more excitement. And James was there, filling the gaps my husband didn't even know existed. One night, Eric was out of town for a work conference, and James came over to keep me company. That's how it started, just a few drinks, some light conversation. And then one drink turned into 3, then 4. We laughed, we reminisced about the past, about how we met through Eric. Then the laughter stopped. The silence between us grew heavier. He looked at me in a way that no one but my husband should have. And instead of pulling away, I let it happen. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was my own selfish desires. Maybe I just wanted to feel wanted again. Whatever it was, I let him kiss me. And once that boundary was crossed, there was no going back. I woke up next to him in my bed, in the bed I shared with my husband, and I knew in that moment, I had made the biggest mistake of my life. The guilt was immediate, suffocating. I could barely look at myself in the mirror. James left before Eric got home, and I tried to pretend like nothing had happened. But I couldn't. Every time Eric kissed me, I felt sick. Every time he told me he loved me, I wanted to scream, to confess, to beg for forgiveness. But I didn't. Instead, I started pulling away. I became distant, cold. I stopped laughing at his jokes, stopped reaching for his hand. And he noticed. God, he noticed. "Are you okay?" he asked one night, his brows furrowed in concern. "You've been acting different." I forced a smile. "I'm fine. Just tired." He believed me. Because he trusted me. Because he never once thought I was capable of doing what I did. But James knew. And suddenly, he wasn't around as much. He stopped coming over, stopped texting. The guilt was eating him alive too. And that should have been my wake-up call. That should have been the moment I confessed. But I was a coward. I convinced myself that if I just acted normal, if I just loved Eric harder, maybe it would go away. Maybe I could erase it. But you can't erase betrayal. 3 weeks later, it all came crashing down. I was in the kitchen, making dinner, when Eric walked in, silent, pale, holding his phone in his hand like it was something toxic. "Did you sleep with James?" His voice was eerily calm. My heart stopped. My hands went cold. "What?" I forced a laugh, my voice shaking. "Of course not. Why would you even ask that?" He turned his phone toward me. A message from James. Man, I can't live with this guilt anymore. I messed up. We both did. And just like that, my world ended. I wish I could say I came clean right away, that I broke down and begged for forgiveness. But I didn't. I lied. I denied it, tried to manipulate the situation, tried to paint James as the bad guy. But Eric wasn't stupid. He knew. And when he looked at me, I saw something in his eyes that shattered me more than his words ever could. Disgust. I had broken him. He didn't yell. He didn't throw things. He just left. He packed a bag, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. And he never came back. It's been 6 months. We're getting a divorce. He blocked me on everything, cut me out of his life like I was a cancer. And I don't blame him. I see James sometimes. We don't speak. There's nothing left to say. We weren't in love. We weren't soulmates. We were just two selfish people who made a selfish choice, and now we both have to live with it. And me? I think about Eric every single day. About how I ruined something beautiful for something meaningless. About how, if I could go back, I'd choose differently. But there are no second chances for people like me. I wish I could tell you that I found a way to fix things, that I made amends, or that Eric eventually forgave me. But real life isn't a movie. Some mistakes aren't fixable. Some wounds don't heal. The worst part isn't the divorce, or the loneliness, or the fact that I destroyed my own happiness with my own hands. It's knowing that I took something good, pure, real, unwavering, and crushed it under the weight of my own selfishness. I tried reaching out. I wrote him letters I never sent. Typed out texts I deleted. I drove past his new apartment once, just to feel close to him again, but I never knocked on the door. Because what would I even say? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I hate myself for what I did. None of it would matter. Words don't fix broken trust. James and I weren't a couple. We didn't run off together, and there was never a chance of us being anything more than a mistake. He's just another ghost of my past now, another reminder of how easily I threw everything away. The hardest part is knowing that Eric was the one. The kind of love you don't get twice in a lifetime. And now, he'll give that love to someone else. I heard from a mutual friend that he started dating again. A woman from his office. She's kind, sweet, everything he deserves. And I hope she never does to him what I did. I deserve this regret. I deserve this pain. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: cheating isn't just a mistake. It's a choice. A selfish, reckless, destructive choice. And I made it. And I lost everything. If you're reading this and you're on the edge of making the same choice, don't. I promise you, it's not worth it. I wish I could say there was some grand lesson in all of this, some silver lining that made it all make sense. But the truth is, some mistakes don't come with redemption arcs. Some wounds don't fade with time. I don't get to be the hero of my story. I don't get closure, or a second chance, or some dramatic moment where Eric forgives me and we find our way back to each other. That's not how this ends. This ends with me alone, sitting in the apartment I moved into after he left, haunted by the life I could have had. The life I should have had. The late nights on the couch, the vacations we planned but never took, the kids we talked about but never had, every possibility, every future, gone because of one choice I can never take back. Eric? He moved on. I know that because I saw him the other day. It wasn't planned. I was grabbing coffee at the same place we used to go on Sunday mornings, the place where he always ordered black coffee and I always got something sweet. I was lost in my own thoughts when I looked up and saw him standing in line, happy, smiling, with her. She's beautiful. Not in a flashy way, but in that effortless, natural way that makes you realize she doesn't have to try. She laughed at something he said, and he looked at her the way he used to look at me. And that was it. That was the moment I knew. I don't exist for him anymore. I wanted to leave before he saw me, but I wasn't fast enough. He glanced in my direction, and for a second, just a second, our eyes met. No anger. No hatred. Just indifference. He turned back to her without a second thought, and I knew then that I had lost him forever. And maybe that's what I deserve. Because in the end, love isn't just about how much someone means to you. It's about what you do to protect it. And I didn't protect ours. So if you're reading this, if you think you can cheat and still keep the person who loves you, if you think it's just a moment, just a mistake, think again. Because one day, you'll look at them the way I looked at Eric in that coffee shop. And they won't look back.